Shalom, shalom, shalom. Welcome to the divergent class of full preterism. This is one of your favorite biblical instructors, Elvin Israel, from the Assembly of Sound Doctrine channel, AOSD-THE, on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, as well as RPK-Resurrection Prophecy and Kingdom on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. And on TikTok, King Donnell, Kingdonel. Tonight, being in the divergent of full preterism, where we concentrate on deeper understanding of all things fulfilled, we're going to unearth another mystery. But before we unearth that mystery, the circumcision and uncircumcision of Genesis chapter 1, Mysteries of the Garden Revealed, is on ready for you right now on Amazon. So if you have not, please purchase the book. So now, we're going to unearth another mystery tonight. The mystery of the time of the Gentiles, as well as the drying up of the Euphrates. What's that all about? So walk with me as we unearth another mystery. For the claims you hear today, hey, Jerusalem is still being trodden down of the Gentiles because those people over there are not the original Israelites, as well as the Euphrates River is drying up right now. Well, let's go to scriptures. Luke 21:24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Isn't that something? The time of the Gentiles being fulfilled. But would y'all not know that that is not new language? That is something stated in a previous prophecy. Walk with me so we can find out more about the time of the Gentiles. Ezekiel 30:3. For the day is near, even the day of the Lord is near, a cloudy day. It shall be the time of the heathen. Time of the heathen, time of the Gentiles. Means the same exact thing. So let's find out what's going on here. Verse 8. And they shall know that I am the Lord when I have set a fire in Egypt, and when all her helpers shall be destroyed. Verse 10-12. Thus says the Lord God, I will also make the multitude of Egypt to cease by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, he and his people with him. The terrible of the nations shall be brought to destroy the land, and they shall draw their swords against Egypt, and fill the land with the slain. And I will make the rivers dry, and sell the land into the hand of the wicked, and I will make the land waste, and all that is therein, by the hand of strangers. I, the Lord, have spoken it. What do we find out? The day of the Gentiles was brought on by the upcoming world leader, which would have been Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar. And he was going to come upon Egypt. We're going to find out why in the book of Josephus. But he's going to come upon Egypt. And while that's considered a day of the Lord to those in Egypt, what happens? He dries up the river during the time of the heathen, during the day of the Lord. Nebuchadnezzar's getting ready to destroy Israel. Israel run up into Egypt, which the Lord told him not to do. So, but Egypt itself was going to be taken. We got Antiquity of the Jews, Book 10, Chapter 9, Section 7, lines 180 through 182, on page 333 of the hard copy. It states, and when they were there, God signified to the prophet that the king of Babylon was about to make an expedition against the Egyptians, and commanded him to foretell the people that Egypt should be taken by the king of Babylon, should slay some of them, and should take others captive, and bring them to Babylon. While things came to pass accordingly, for in the 5th year after the destruction of Jerusalem, which is the 23rd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, he made an expedition against Cilicia. And when he had possessed himself of it, he made war against the Ammonites and Moabites. And when he had brought all those nations under subjection, he fell upon Egypt in order to overthrow it. And he slew the king that reigned, and set up another. And he took those Jews that were there captive, and led them away to Babylon. And such was the end of the nation of the Hebrews, as it had been delivered down to us, it having twice gone beyond Euphrates, for the people of the 10 tribes were carried away out of Samaria by the Assyrians in the day of King Hoshea. And that's all I'm going to read right there. You see, King Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler of the world at that time, he was going through making all those nations in subjection to him, which was called a time of the heathen. And that's the time when the brooks or the waters of Egypt dried up during the day of the Lord. You go to Isaiah 19:1. The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Verses 3-5. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will I go over into the hand of a cruel Lord. So will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord of hosts. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up. I have so much that can be explained in this chapter. First of all, this is about King Nebuchadnezzar coming into Egypt. But Isaiah 19 is describing King Nebuchadnezzar coming to Egypt as the Lord riding on a cloud. Not the physical Lord, not the bodily Lord, but the Lord riding on a cloud is equivalent to Nebuchadnezzar coming into Egypt to destroy Egypt. We also got the understanding of the rivers being dried up in Egypt. So now let's go to Jeremiah. Now, Jeremiah has a prophecy against the Chaldeans, against Babylon, for the next world power that was going to take over. We're dealing with the Medes and Persia getting ready to come in. Jeremiah 50:1. The word that the Lord spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Verse 9. For lo, I will raise up and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be full of the mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. Verse 35. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, said the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. Verse 38. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. For it is a land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. So we got another day of the Lord against the Gentiles, a time of the heathen, when the next world power was going to take over and destroy the previous world power. And it stated that their rivers will dry up. We'll go to the book of Nahum 1:2-4. God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth, and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. The Lord is slow to anger, and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind, and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. He rebuketh the seas, and maketh it dry, and drieth up all the rivers. Bashan languisheth, and Carmel, and the flower of Lebanon languishes. I have another prophet showing when the Lord's getting ready to take vengeance and anger, it's considered the rivers of that place getting ready to be dried up or drying up. Revelation 15:1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God. Revelation 16:12. And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the kings of the east might be prepared. Rome was the world power in the 1st century, and they are getting ready to destroy, aka the rivers drying up. People want a physical Euphrates to dry up. No, that's the language that the prophets use about the wrath of the Lord coming. He's so wrathful that he would even dry up the water, making a way for his armies to come in and destroy his enemies. The time of the Gentiles was one time period during one war, not plenty wars, but one war when the nations did the Lord's will, which dried up the rivers. Subscribe to the channel.